Hello, everybody. Welcome to White to Tall Film Festival. And today I'm so honored to have with us here Simon Chow. He's co-founder of OLC Hong Kong, that's Orange Lifestyle Collective, and they have successfully transformed the manufacturing of OLC into a sustainable business with sustainable and ethical practices. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Simon. Hi, Simon.
Hi, thanks for the introduction, Chrissy. How are you today?
Great, I'm great. So Simon,
Yeah.
I mean, this is an amazing thing that you've done because I understand that it's really costly to actually transform your whole manufacturing line in such respect. Could you please tell us a little bit about OLC and what you do?
OLC was founded on the premise that we wanted to provide sustainable lifestyle products offering to the market. So I guess before I get to how OLC started and where it operates today, just a bit of background on how I got here, if you don't mind. So I actually come from a footwear manufacturing family background, been doing this for 50 plus years, manufacturing and exporting globally to multinational brands, large retail chains. So through working in this business or in this industry, I was able to see firsthand sort of the buying practices and the manufacturing practice, which was very wasteful. I thought, there must be a better way to do this. So that's why I wanted to create a business which was all focused on sustainable practices, sustainable manufacturing. At first, I wanted to approach my existing customers and just try and push the idea of sustainable offerings. There was great interest, but then whenever it came to sort of final costing, it just sort of like died because that there is a premium to purchasing sustainably and ethically. So I decided to start my own brand. And then so to show that the market, to try and influence the market that way, to show that, a sustainable footwear brand can still, have its niche and have its market in the fashion industry. And then so going through that process, I learned the difficulties of a startup brand. And that's with my background and my network in manufacturing from 50 plus years. So I could only imagine how difficult it would be for someone who doesn't have the necessary network and background, but has the drive and the vision and determination to create a sustainable fashion brand. So I was asking myself, how can I use my experiences and network and help these other people? Because one brand cannot change the industry. So it needs to be a collective effort. So I really wanted to see how I could help other sustainable or startup brands. And that also was when I met Johnny, my co-founder for OLC. So he comes from a family with 130 years experience in textile manufacturing and fashion. And again, he had a very similar experience and similar philosophy around sustainable fashion. And then he also really wanted to help and do our best to try and help within our means startup and small to medium brands that want to move to sustainable offerings, or also just improve or increase their sustainability credentials. And then so we had a very much merging of the minds, and hence the birth of OLC. That's why, and that's how we focus on our sustainable lifestyle offering to not just large multinational corporates, which we will do and we do, but also we really want to try and help where we can for the small to medium enterprises.
When you talked about, looking at having witnessed the buying and, the manufacturing previously in other corporations, and you spoke about like how you saw that there was so many wasteful practices. That's really interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Let me start by saying that the fashion industry is actually the second largest polluting industry in the world, just behind oil and gas. So the problem at hand is actually quite large. And it's not just, the manufacturing excess, or there's too much rubbish from the manufacturing process, but also stems from the start, how you cultivate the materials to go into your clothing garments, how you do the dyeing, how it's transported to the factory, and from the factory to the end consumers, and also the end of life disposal. I mean, these are all elements of the fashion industry, and put together, it's yeah, it causes a huge strain on the environment. And then, so I guess that's why we wanted to tackle sustainable fashion. And then, from back to your question, you know, what I saw was the large corporates, they're very interested in sustainability, but very much so because it's becoming a bit of a fad. So it's like a trend. So they want to get on that trend, but at the same time, they just don't want to pay more, or very, very minimally more. So they're not yeah, truly embracing, you know, what sustainability is about, because it's not only about, you know, sustainable for the environment, it also needs to be sustainable for the workers, for the factories. So if you're not paying the, you know, the right amount, the adequate amount, then, you know, it's also an issue. So these are the, I guess, the problems I saw working with like large multinationals and big brands. And then, so I really wanted to, you know, use, you know, OLC and the brands which are under OLC as a platform to try and change that. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. I mean, it feels like it's going to be a mountain of work, you know. It feels like you're up against the entire industry to change them. But, you know, what does this change look like? You know, what does sustainable fashion or sustainable manufacturing actually look like?
Yeah, look, I mean, when you talk about sustainability, I mean, the holy grail, the end goal is to have a circular economy. So what that means is, you know, you have the existing resources already on a planet, and then you just keep on reusing it and reusing it. So through recycling or repurposing. But, you know, as I mentioned, that is the ultimate end goal, and that is the holy grail. But it's not so easy to get there, and we're definitely not there right now for a majority of the products that we consume. I mean, there are some products, but the vast majority is not there yet. So the way that you know, we look at sustainability at OLC is, at least it needs to be better than what we had before. So it's a continuous improvement. We're not going to jump from A to Z. It's a process. So you need to go from A to B, B to C, and so on before we eventually get there. So right now, what we focus on is, as I mentioned, better than yesterday, and that's using technologically advanced materials or processes to look at how we can recycle existing materials. You know, if not multiple times, at least reuse it once, and also bio-based materials, which are, well, naturally biodegradable, so that at the end of life they will just go back into the planet without harming it, and then not increasing the amount of waste that's building up in our landfills and in our ocean. Yeah.
No, that's crazy. I mean, it seems like there is so much to consider when we talk about the idea of sustainable processes, you know, sustainable fashion and just the fashion industry. And, you know, if I'm hearing you right, you know, you're talking about like the entire process of, well, materialism to then the dyeing process. And that takes up a lot of water, if I'm not wrong, right? And then we have to, you know, think about how we're going to recycle and, you know, try to engage the public or the youth to be able to buy sustainably. I mean, this is a huge process that I can tell. I mean, you're talking about, you know, the importance of continuously improving, but how can we do that? How can we be part of that solution instead of, you know, turning the machine and being part of that problem?
Yeah, as consumers, there is a couple of things that can be done. First of all, is educate yourselves, and then so educate yourselves to what I mean is to understand sort of like the brands or the products that you consume, that you purchase. So understand, you know, if you're a true advocate or, you know, want to support sustainability, then you need to, you know, find out more about the brand's ethos, you know, how transparent they are in their supply chain, and just sort of what sort of metrics or what sort of information they're willing to provide in terms of, you know, how they keep the environment safe, and also how to keep the people during the supply chain safe. So that's one thing. And the other thing as a consumer is to really vote with your wallets. So right now, a lot of the major, major retailers, major brands, they find it very difficult to pivot away from fast fashion into more sustainable slow fashion. Is because that's where the money is, fast fashion. So if you as consumer can vote with your wallets, don't mind that a product that may look the same, but a ethically made, a sustainably made version is a little bit more expensive or more expensive. You pay that extra, knowing that you're doing the planet some good. And if you shun away from the fast fashion goods, then the retailers will pivot as well. So they will go where the demand is. So that's a couple of things which I think as a consumer, or just as the human population, can be a bit more conscious about. Yeah.
Let's talk about slow fashion. I mean, we've already spoken about fast fashion, and we kind of understand what that is. The whole concept of like 52 or 53 seasons a year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, talk us through about slow fashion and how can we actually like go through this?
It's quite simply, slow fashion is the opposite of fast fashion. So no seasons is what we're gunning towards. And then so the idea is also, to have slow fashion or things that will stay in your wardrobe for a long time, there's also quality involved. So you have to ensure that the styling and the quality is up to scratch, and also to create something of quality, then there will always be sort of like an element of a bit more expensive. So the material needs to be better, the workmanship needs to be better. So that's why it's very difficult to compare against what you see in fast fashion companies. And also, so I guess to ensure that the quality is there, we also have to look at the processes which they go through, because fast fashion typically, it's maybe not 100%, but typically they won't have very good control over their manufacturing practices. By that I mean the people that they use. You may have seen in a lot of media over the last year is there's a lot of slave labor in the fashion industry. And also the way that they dye, they could be using very toxic chemicals to dye, and then they don't even treat it before they let that water back out into the waterways, so affecting nearby communities. That's also very much the same with using a chrome to dye leather. So you hear all these stories about people that are all in these not so good leather dyeing facilities, having cancer and other ailments because of the chrome. So all these things to as part of slow fashion and ethical fashion, we need to ensure it is done properly and controlled. So again, all this includes time and effort, and includes cost. And it just has to be done that way. and then you need cost to create it. So that's why I always tell people, if they look at a piece of item of clothing and it looks really cheap, and you go, oh, what a bargain. Well, someone's probably paying for it along the way. You're not paying for it as a consumer, but there could be someone who hasn't been adequately paid a living wage to make that piece of garment. Or the environment is paying for it because the water, the sludge has not been processed before it's been released into the waterways. So somewhere, something, somehow is paying for it, just not you. So something to be wary of, to think about when you're shopping.
Yeah, I get that we should all play our part, but can one little effort actually help this industry? Because we are up against the machine.
Yeah. Well, as a Chinese saying, if you're one chopstick, you can easily break, but if you're a bunch of chopsticks, right, it's very hard to break. So it's similar concept. So you may think you're only one person, but you have your circle of influence. You may have your circle of influence close friends, 20, 30 people. I mean, if you're an IG influencer, you may have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. So yeah, so if you can influence your network and then they influence their network, it's like a butterfly effect, and then it's gonna continually grow. So I don't think the efforts of one person is wasted. Even if your efforts can influence or show one other person, what it means to be sustainable and why it's good to be sustainable, then you don't know how far that can go.
I guess that's why you're here and you're helping me as an advocate in this White Tall Film Festival, because I think film is also the fastest way that messages can travel.
That's right. Yeah. So I mean, we've seen a lot of documentaries like that talk about that are very powerful and have actually made significant changes in people's lives. So hopefully we'll find a few of these videos submissions through the people that will submit through the White Tall Film Festival.
Yes, most hope. Let's hope that that's going to be the case. Yes. Oh, well, I'm very sure that with your help and you pitching in as well as one of our advocates, that's going to be highly possible. But yeah, let's come back to that. Like, why are you so passionate about this? Maybe it just might be something that's brewing in one of our youth today, that they're feeling something, but they're too embarrassed or that they don't want to be a burden. What sparked you off into this journey, Simon?
So what sparked me on this journey? It really was, going to factories and then seeing sort of like the mountains of waste and the mountains of excess products that is left from customers' orders. It just didn't feel right, and it wasn't right. So like I really wanted to look into a way of how it could contribute in a more positive way to the problem, which I mean historically we have had a hand in creating. And I think everyone has had a hand in creating, but just trying to take some responsibility. And yeah.
Wow, that really moved me. But how close are we, to this change? Like, how, are there things set up for us to be able to help recycle all these fibers, maybe, or
yeah,
plastic?
I mean, fibers and textile is post-consumer is a little more difficult. Not every city or not every country has the right setup or they promote it actively, how they can recycle. And another problem, at least up until now, about textile recycling is you cannot recycle something that's been blended between cotton and polyester, as for example. You need to somehow separate that first before you can recycle the fibers and the yarns separately. So there are challenges, but as I say, it's a process from A, B, C, D, E. So we're moving along the way, and there are a lot of good technological advancements and R&D that's going on that I think eventually it'll be the norm. It'll be the norm that we'll be able to recycle not only plastics but all sorts of textiles. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like tech is definitely something that we can look forward to in helping us make a more sustainable industry. But yeah, so while we're on this topic, can you tell me something about maybe the latest project that you've got going on?
There's many projects, but one of the more interesting ones is we're actually working with our partners in China to collect 100% certified discarded fishing nets from the ocean. So we have a team that goes around along the coast to all the different Chinese villages, and they will buy old discarded fishing nets from the I guess the seaside villages, the fishermen there, and then we will recycle the nylon and the PP into new products. And then so like the nylon will go into fibers for a t-shirt, for jeans, even for sunglasses frames. So yeah, we're just taking again the idea of taking existing resources already, and then I'm trying to create a loop, a cycle where we can reuse it and then create something new, but using existing resources. And what's also great about this program that we're doing is, it helps fishermen to have, more income. Because again, they have discarded nets, they can sell it, and also when they're out fishing, if they see discarded nets, it promotes them to haul that back in as well, so reducing the amount of ghost fishing nets that we see in the ocean. So what's great about this program, it's life cycle assessment certified, and also that to us, with that, we know we're the only program that can 100% certify that all our nylon is made from 100% recycled fishing nets.
My goodness. I mean, I heard about that, right? I heard about that on, I think it was Net Geo, but I didn't know that it was you guys that were on it. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I can, where there's definitely people around the globe that do it, but for us, we feel that, that we know of, is we're the only one that is 100% all our nylon will come from the recycled fishing nets. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing that I took away from that was you can put nylon in jeans. I always thought it was just denim.
Yeah, well, denim is actually mostly cotton. But at OLC, I guess our philosophy is, we're always pushing the envelope. We don't just do what's already being done. Otherwise, then there's no progress. So we try different things, and we've managed to develop a pair of jeans like with recycled nylon. So watch this space if you're keen to have some recycled fishing nets in your jeans and your t-shirts.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important to actually point out, because this is something that we don't actually even, it doesn't even come to mind. When you're shopping and you're on that high, just window shopping and going through all this material in fashion stores, because they are all designed to just make us glow and bask in the shopping experience. But yeah, so I'm really wary of the time that we got right now, so I'm just gonna tie this up and bring it to an end. But before I let you go, I would love to see if you have any tips for our youth, or maybe even a challenge as they take on this journey. Yeah.
I mean, I touched upon before, there were two things that we as consumers, just as the citizens of the planet, can do in terms of fashion. Just study up the brands, study up the ethos, and also vote with your wallets. But I guess another thing that we could do, because it's very difficult when you're out shopping, and then you're like, oh, I just saw this brand or saw this t-shirt I really like. It's gonna take me forever to research the ethos. So do I go back and check it before I come back and buy again? And so there and then, something that I guess a challenge is to, I guess, just understand at least a bit more about the materials that product is using. So if it's something that you wear on your body that gets washed a lot, my challenge is to buy only natural fibers. Try and stay away from polyester, synthetics, even if it's recycled polyester to a big degree, because it does release microplastics during the wash into the ocean, which is one of the big concerns of our waterways. But however, if it's something that's not frequently washed, accessories like or shoes, then synthetic recycled polyester, I think they still work great. They still work fine. So just something to be wary of, and I guess a bit of a challenge, because natural fibers will always be a little bit more expensive than synthetic fibers. So again, it goes back to voting with your wallets as well. Yeah.
No, I get it. I totally am in line with you. When it's if the price is too good to be true, it probably is. Yeah. So I love how you actually brought it back down to the ethos of the company, and it's very relevant for us here at White Tall Film Festival, because we're talking about stories. And if we go and bother to find out about the story of the product, then we kind of are able to take ownership in cloaking ourselves every day with things that we're proud of and we stand up for.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Simon, for your time with us today. And any last words for our youth?
Really looking forward to seeing some of your submissions. If there's anything in this video or that you have a question about, feel free to send me an email, reach out and ask questions. But I can't guarantee I'll have the answers, but I'll try and point you in the right direction if I can.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for being so generous with your time. In fact, we will be able to have a group out, and we can actually gather questions there as well. And you can actually have a nice look at them as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck, guys.
Thank you, Simon.
All right.
Take
Okay.
care.